Jess.
Hi there. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for
Good.
joining me today. I'm so excited
Yeah.
about this.
Yeah. And welcome all the folks joining in either Facebook or YouTube where you might be watching this.
Yeah, welcome. We are excited today to bring you Command Your Contracts. So, Clark, I think I'm going to have you drive if you're cool with that. And let's
Absolutely.
show our audience how to master the art of docu-signing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's our topic today, right? So previously, if you've been watching this in succession, we've covered how to create a contact in Command and how to build your database, how to communicate with them, creating an opportunity for those folks that raised their hands and said, yes, please help me. And so now we're focused on those contracts, working with DocuSign to seal the deal. And so,
Exactly.
so we'll go along that journey. Before we get started, though, because if you have questions, right, if there's other things that, because we're not going to go full all in the details, there's a lot that we can learn, and yet we're going to be purposeful and touch on the most important pieces for getting e-signatures going in DocuSign. A few resources here for you. First, Jess, you're a Market Center Tech Trainer, an amazing one, top one out in our world, and we have one in every single Market Center, right? And so that person, that Market Center Tech Trainer, is there to not only help support and troubleshoot and educate you on the processes to grow your business with our technology, but to consult to your business of what matters. And so they are your go-to person, boots on the ground there. But we also have answers.kw.com. So I'm going to share my screen here and making sure that it is there. Actually, let me go through here. There we go. Okay. So on answers.kw.com, it is a hub spot for all things Command or KW technology. So anyone can go here. You don't even have to log in. But if you have a specific question, you can type in the search bar here, DocuSign, or whatever the topic might be. All right. So if I type in DocuSign, you'll see that there will be a lot of articles that come up based on relevance. Or if I start at the beginning here, all these are categorized by topic. So if I wanted to see all the articles that deal with Command, running your business within a browser, we can click on here and we have all these topics for contacts, opportunities.
Yep.
Right?
And
So
if you go to opportunities, that's where you're going to find what we're talking about today. Yeah. So if the other shortcut, though, like you said, Clark, is if you just type in the word DocuSign, it'll pull up that whole folder of documents for you. Mm-hmm. There's about 40 articles there on all the things DocuSign. Mm-hmm. So as an MCTT, I love helping my agents learn how to use the tools, but at the same time, these are an amazing resource when I'm not answering my phone at 1 a.m. So just remember that you always have this at your fingertips and you can use it at any time without a login or anything.
Yeah, love that. A good point, Jess, because I mean, as tech trainers, we do get those questions because that's when it matters to the agents, right? I mean, that might be the time that they need to write an offer. And so beyond all, we're going to talk about this process of getting e-signatures, and yet don't wait to practice this when it matters, right? That's just a little tip. Take another agent in your Market Center, pretend to be clients. That's what Jess and I are going to do here today, and practice it to get familiar with it. Not when you have an hour to submit the offer, because there's multiple other offers on this listing and you want to put your buyers in a good position. So put them in a good position by practicing before it matters.
Exactly. And if you don't have a partner yet, practice on yourself. That's the really cool thing about Command, DocuSign, all of our technology is you can use it on yourself and just see what it looks like from the client side. So I would always encourage you to sell yourself your own house or, purchase your dream property and see what it looks like.
Yep. You won't break the system. You can have multiple test opportunities and get rid of those at a later point. So. All right, so let's dive into it. Jess, you're my client. All right. Let's say we met at an open house, and we're going to focus on actual listing on the market. Just came live today in Lake St. Louis. So you're on the hunt for a lake home, right? In this scenario, and that might be a real life scenario. It is for me.
According to my husband, it's 2025. I'm not allowed to look until then. So you can keep me as an opportunity and we can start the process, though.
Love that. You're in my pipeline. I'm not going to forget you now.
Yes.
All right. So we've created this opportunity. You're a contact in here, created opportunity. I've created that buyer opportunity. So what we see here now is the details for this opportunity. And let me really quickly make sure I get my fun little cursor here. There we go. I like my little circle there. So we
Awesome.
can see it better. All right. So we've got all the details of the opportunity. I've filled out a lot of data thus far, right? I've got your contact information, and really in this situation, I have your email and your name. That's all presently that's in the contact record.
Right.
And yet I also have some information about the transaction, looking 3 months away, estimated close somewhere towards the end of May, an appointment date, a budget, all this information. So what this will help us understand is we want to make your life easier with our technology to save you time. So a lot of this data is going to come over in the DocuSign, so you don't have to re-enter that, which is
I
nice.
love that.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't love having to re-enter information a lot. So that'll save us some time here. Now, this won't be a full walkthrough of how to complete compliance within your market center. But one of the great things that is about opportunities, everything that you need for the transactions here. Yes, to know what needs to happen next for you as the agent to serve your client, you can set that up. What your market center or your local office, what they require for document submission to approve those for closing lives under this tab here under documents. So when I click on documents, this is going to look different for every single Keller Williams office, right? Because we have different boards in different states and different forms, even with our own offices that will only be specific. So real quick here, while you're this is.
You got to go to under contract, Clark, because it's a buyer opportunity.
That's right. Actually, it's a different market center as well. So I was like,
yeah,
what is this? There's only has consultation. So when all that to say, if you go through here and you're under consultation or under contract, this list might look different, but this isn't how to submit documents here. We're looking at, okay, how do I use e-signature to, at a later point, bring them in here for compliance? All right.
Right.
You need some quick answers on how to get compliance in here. Again, answers.kv.com. We'll have a complete walkthrough for you.
Exactly.
Yep. So best recommendation here, as we're in documents, make your life easier and begin the DocuSign process in Command. In Command. So we're not going to log into DocuSign first to create a new transaction to get the ball going for a e-signature contracts in DocuSign. We're going to focus on this start a transaction button. And when I click on this button, what I should be seeing here, if I've taken some proper steps prior, is this DocuSign. Okay. If you do not see DocuSign here, you do need to set that up in your settings here at the top right. And again, we're not going to walk through that today. Go to answers.kv.com and ask, how do I connect Command to DocuSign? That'll take care of it.
Yep. And it's a pretty easy process. And if you ever get hung up, don't forget, use your MCTT, use your agent services coordinator, whoever is really that tech guru in your office to support you. So don't ever get frustrated.
No,
we are truly here to help and make this process easier. Now, Clark, I know we're about to start this transaction in DocuSign. Why on earth would I start in Command if I'm in a hurry? Why can't I just go to DocuSign?
Yes. Yep. So by hitting this magical start a transaction button, what this will effectively do, it will create what we call a DocuSign room automatically in DocuSign. So there's a couple of benefits of that. One, I've got data already in Command. I've got user contact. I've got some property information. By hitting that start a transaction, it's going to bring it over to DocuSign. If I log into DocuSign directly and try to start, it's not going to have that data. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Plus, as we begin to bring documents and as it gets signed in DocuSign, we will be able to easily bring them back into Command. By starting here, if I choose on DocuSign, as you see this working now, it's creating a DocuSign room for me. All right. Now, before I jump into that, what has effectively happened here is now that connection in between Command and my new DocuSign room or my DocuSign transaction, as I complete the work in DocuSign, I can easily select these files here. So again, this prevents me having to download them from DocuSign and then uploading them manually in here, saving you, as more and more transaction goes, hours of work. Okay.
I love that.
Yep. So you're good to go when it says go to transaction here. And this is another easy button to go to the spot in DocuSign you need to go to. Yet, as it's already created it here for me, I'm going to go ahead and log in. And it has taken me to my DocuSign room. Now, because I started in command and I had
Mhm.
that buyer opportunity, what has happened was it's created a DocuSign room for me. And room is this virtual room. It's a transaction where all the documents are held. You're preparing them, getting them ready to be sent off for signatures, the same spot you receive your signatures back. All of it happens within a room. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in my past life, I used that one of those other e-signature programs that we had these things that were like loopy or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, it's the
Scoopy.
same concept, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so the idea is that it's actually creating a unique space to manage just this transaction, because I see at the top my name and the property we were talking about, that's all up there already. And that
Yep.
came out of the command, right?
It did. It sure did. Yep. Because
Awesome.
this is a listing that we looked up. So again, we don't have to duplicate all that data, which saves time for sure. And one thing you probably also noticed was as soon as I logged in, it created this room for me, but I've already got documents. Visually, I see documents here. All right.
Mhm.
So if you're watching this video and you're pausing, maybe at a late, if you're watching this later and you're following through and you don't see documents right off the bat, don't be alarmed. You're still on the right track. But this is where we'll see differences in different Keller Williams offices. All right. So some
Right.
offices might have documents that automatically come into here or give you the opportunity to go find those. So if you have them already showing up, it's probably a good bet that these are the documents you need to begin moving forward that the market center or the office has created for you. All right. However,
Right.
let's say,
Typically,
go ahead.
oh, I was just going to say, typically what I see in the market centers that I work with and partner with, whatever is listed as required and the document is initially filled out by your client and not the other side of the transaction, those are the ones that automatically appear. So, you know, if you're working with a buyer, you're not going to have an automatic seller's disclosure show up in here as a template, because your buyer is not going to be the one filling that out. So just
Right.
understand that that list, that cultivated collection of forms that you're seeing is cultivated by your market center, usually the tech trainer or compliance coordinator, broker, something like that. So
Yeah.
if you've got questions on it, I would say reach out to your leadership and find out, you know, if what the reasoning is behind, if there's something showing up there that shouldn't be there, or vice versa, you're missing something that you think you need.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Good point. So a quick little overview of the layout for DocuSign rooms here. We have details on the far left-hand side. These are details of the transaction, the parties to the transaction. I'll jump into here in a second. Tasks are present there. They're not often used yet. You could create task lists there, but again, I wouldn't recommend it. You have an amazing task system in Command already through opportunities. So focus on that. Here's the documents we're at right now. People are folks that have are within your office or maybe within your team, your broker, that are need access to this room for whatever reason. Envelopes we'll get to in just a moment. Messages and history won't be used either. But know that you'll primarily toggle between details, documents, people, and envelopes. People not too often, but definitely details, documents, and envelopes for sure. Okay.
And
Yeah.
if you're a nerd like me, those are alphabetical order. So details, documents, and envelopes go in order.
Yeah,
Kind of
that's
like
true.
command, contact, then opportunity, then the transaction. So
Oh,
this is
I want
where
to use
I
that.
nerd out, Clark. Everything, you know, just helps me
Totally
stay
fine.
organized and process oriented.
Awesome. That's cool. So, what I want to do real quick here, because I don't want to make the assumption that everybody has documents here. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to select all these documents, and you can choose these documents individually. I'm just going to get rid of these. Okay. Just that way we can start from fresh in case your office doesn't have any that automatically pull them in here. All right. But also know that if you have a room that you begun in Command, best practice, you can set yourself up for success even further. So a recommendation here that to organize yourself for the future is to focus on these folders. So right now, every time someone creates a DocuSign room in Command, they'll have the room docs. Right, everyone will
Mhm.
begin with that and no more presently. Recommend creating envelope, or excuse me, folders for yourself to organize the different processes or the different um, accomplishments, I guess, for the transaction. So in the top right-hand corner, when you click actions and then create a folder, you can name the folder to help organize this. So we could call them buyer agency agreements, or the documents that would be attributed to that. We could also create another folder that would say, oh goodness, let's say offer number 1.
Yep.
Right. Now, a side note here, because I don't know, I think we touched on this on the previous one, but the intent is that this whole process we're doing, Jess, of you're my client, I've created one opportunity for you, I've started one DocuSign room, I have no reason to create another opportunity and another room for you as long as you're my client.
Got it. So you're saying that if for some reason I don't get my dream lake house, you don't have to start this whole process over again. That's what I'm hearing you say?
Bingo. Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's great to know, because that is something that I think a lot of agents don't realize. They think that if the mutual release happens or the offer isn't accepted, then you have to scrap it and start over. And that's, again, it goes back to being a whole lot of typing and clicking and details that you really don't need to do. Because if you've got a buyer's agency, that's applicable no matter which property you put an offer in on. Or if you've got a listing agreement, you're still selling the same property. So why waste time redoing all of that? So I love that, Clark. Thanks for pointing that out.
Absolutely. Another note here, you can organize those. So if you, we haven't got documents in here, but if you like a list view more in a card view, you can choose that here. I'll show you what we mean here in just a second. So, but let's go ahead and jump on over into the details section of this room and see what we have going on here. Now, again, these are details of the transaction and the parties of the transaction. And what we'll want to focus on here is everything kind of on the, it's kind of divided in 2 portions here on this details page. Everything on the left-hand side is really more about the property, the transaction itself. So you'll notice this wider column here that talks about the location, the property we're going to write an offer on in this example. Offer details, high bid confirmation, closing details, additional information. There's a lot of sections here on the transaction, and that's on the left-hand side. Now on the right-hand side, we have our parties. So the skinnier column section on the right-hand side is the parties of the transaction. We have seller 1, and again, you're not my seller, so that's why nothing's showing presently. Seller 2, listing agent 1, listing agent 2, buyer 1. That's where you show up. Yes, right? So we're in good shape.
And if you're like me and you don't want to scroll that far, the little down arrow next to each title of each section allows you to collapse them to make your view a whole lot cleaner. So I typically carry a very tiny laptop with me because I have my giant monitor at home. And I'm like, when I'm writing an offer on the go, I do not want to sit there and keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And so pro tip there. But Clark, this is a lot of stuff. Do I have to fill out every single field on here?
You sure don't have to do
that. That's a lot to fill out.
Yes, there's a lot of fields here, and know that we've made DocuSign flexible for transactions across the U.S., right? So some of these fields are for specific states, for certain areas, and yet you will not utilize all these, right? But here's the cool thing about these details. Once the information that you know that is necessary for the transaction based on your market, based on the forms that you need to complete, as you enter them here, it will automatically be added to any form that needs that information at a later point, right? So when I go to set up a buyer agency with Jess, or I go to write that first offer or second offer, it will always be populated from the room details. So that's a great piece of leverage that we don't have to continually retype that in the contract or whatever the form might be.
That's huge. Now, I sometimes get the question, well, what about the data entry that I did in Command? Is that talking to DocuSign? Like, do they go back and forth? Does one win out over the other? How does that work? Yeah,
great point. Yeah, so currently, Command, any information we put in Command that DocuSign would need, right, is coming over. So we see here, yes, the Jess Weber buyer, that's the name of the opportunity in Command. I chose a buyer opportunity. And of course, at the very, very top, this is a property we're talking about. I put all that into Command. However, if I change anything here, right, there won't be any information that goes back into Command.
Right. But if we go back to command, can we do that
Uh-huh.
for a second?
Yeah.
I want to look at something. So if we go back to command details,
Whoops.
no,
Sorry about that.
details, Clark.
Sorry about that.
Okay, when you create that room through the documents, you'll see everything that is syncing from command to DocuSign.
Mhm.
So technically, command is the master account. And if you come in here and you edit these details, let's say that I lose my opportunity to buy this lake house and I go buy a different property. If I come in here and I change that property address and I hit that sync transaction button, it pushes all the new data, all the details, the contract dates, the property address, anything that I change, that pushes it into DocuSign, into the DocuSign details, which then updates all of your forms. So it goes back to the whole, if you edit it here, it does sync and you don't have to do multiple data entry points. So that's a key thing, because I always have people come to me and they say, well, I edit DocuSign, but command says the old stuff. Start in command. If you start in command, it makes your whole life easier.
Absolutely. Yep. And don't be alarmed if it says it doesn't update. So if you refresh the
Right.
screen, we should be able to see the details there that they have
Yes.
updated.
Tech tips 101.
Yeah. Refresh is our friend.
Yes.
So
Oh, hey, look, my estimated close date updated.
that's right.
Yes.
Good. All right. So we've covered details here, and yet I know we don't have a lot of information, but let's go ahead and speed along here. I've got the details. I'm going to go ahead and jump back over into documents.
Let's do it.
Here. Right. So remember, I removed all those documents just to demonstrate how we can get these documents in here. So, all right, we got to set our buyer agency. Let's just begin there. I'm going to bring in one form that establishes that I'm your agent. I'm here to help you. You're my client. I got to add these documents. So to bring in the documents, every single Keller Williams office, we have our forms that are connected with the necessary associations or state associations, local boards, whatever it might be. We got to go find them. So I'm going to focus on the add button here, and we're going to focus on DocuSign forms at first. So the DocuSign forms, this would give you access to the forms that you need to complete the transaction. When I click on DocuSign forms, this window will pop up. And to break this down a little bit, we have groups at the top left here, and these would be market center specific. Okay. So these groups that are here, these are the ones that your local offices created for you, that has grouped forms together to make them easily brought in here. So here I see a buyer packet. If I click on buyer packet, I see a list of forms here that may or may not be needed for a buyer transaction. But what I love, Jess, is I can quickly see what is required by my office.
And it's a recent feature, that little view eyeball. If you're like me and you don't memorize the number of every single thing, you can pop it open and be like, oh, yep, that's what I'm looking for. So again, that's another great little tool there. I think there was a way to just close it rather than hit back.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm
it's all good. I'm messing with Clark. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. There we go. So buyer packet. I'm just going to bring in the agency contract here.
Okay. Let's do it.
So we got that. We're going to add this form. Now, what you want to notice here is, even though I created some folders here, yes, I created a buyer agency folder. It defaulted to coming into this room doc. So see this room doc, there's almost like an inbox for your DocuSign room. If you bring any from the forms libraries that we just did, or from those groups, it's going to come in the room docs.
Right.
Now, maybe a little 201 lesson later, we can't automatically email documents into rooms as well.
Hey,
they would all
don't confuse people. Stop it.
I know. It's a teaser for them to come back. And they will.
Oh, well, that's true. There are so many things like autofilling and folders and managing your PDFs. I mean, there's amazing things that DocuSign can do. But let's get back to editing this document, because I'm still not your client yet, Clark.
You're not. I'm going to nail it right now. So I'm going to click on the document. Now, we just click on the document. It's going to open it up in this other window. And again, as promised, I had some information about you already in command and the opportunity. It automatically came over to DocuSign and my details that we showed all those fields. And this is where we're seeing anything in that details is now being applied to the form. It's got your name at the top. Obviously, we're not going to fill out all this contract in this demo, but the pieces that needed to be carried over from the details will be brought over. Now, it's
Mhm.
really easy to complete this form. And of course, being familiar with this form in the St. Louis area for a buyer agency contract, I do have little fields here that tell me what this field is intended for. So if you were going to purchase this property again with your husband, right?
Sure.
If he's got it on the path to purchase it, we're going to put him in there as well. So I could end up
Forest
putting
of 2 R's.
Weber. Whoops, excuse me there.
It's
All
okay.
right, so he's buyer 2. Now there's something cool that also happened when I filled out this form.
Uh-huh.
Anything that you fill out on this form that again is linked with those details, if I put it out on the form, it will carry over into the details. So because we didn't
Oh,
put
that's
Forrest's
so
name in the
nice.
details. It is, right? So know that again, because I put Forrest's name here, if he needs to be on another form at a later point, I don't have to re-enter that. That's where that sync comes in with
Okay.
those room details. Really nice. So yeah.
Good to know. So that also tells me that if I missed one of those fields, because that details page is a long page, at least I know that that's going to get updated on my behalf once I edit this and save it. So
For sure. Yeah.
awesome.
And
Love
some
this.
agents, again, if you're in a pinch and you really need to write an offer real quick, I mean, you can go to that form
Mhm.
and fill it out as necessary and worry about filling out all the other details of the transaction at a later point.
Awesome.
Yep, absolutely. All right. So we're going to start with today. You are my client. 2022. Still getting the habit of writing that down. Right.
Yeah, a whole month and I still can't do it.
All right. So again, this is really self-explanatory in filling out fields. If you filled anything out online, it's the same process, right? So
Yep.
know that we would completely walk through here and fill out this form step by step by step. Now, one piece that we want to mention here that
Mhm.
might be alarming or be like, wait, I thought I was filling all this out, yet I'm not seeing a place where an initial or a signature needs to go, or
You
actually
read
my
my
client needs to fill
mind.
this out. I can't fill this out for my client. I can't do this
Yes.
part. It's not there. Do I have the wrong form?
Where are my
Right.
boxes, Clark?
All right. So don't be alarmed. They are
Okay.
there. What we'll eventually do, we're going to fill out all the terms of this contract, and the pieces that are initialed or signed, they will come at a later point. Okay.
So
Or
what
we
I'm
call an
hearing you
envelope.
say is that inside documents, inside DocuSign, that's for the agent to prepare. We are not
Mhm.
doing anything for the clients yet. So
Nope.
this is just stuff that I, as the agent, the licensed individual, that's what I am filling out currently, correct?
Absolutely. Yep.
Awesome.
Correct.
Good to
Yep.
know.
Absolutely. Yep. All right. So, and again, all this is coming over from the room details. I can put
Mhm.
more information in here for the brokerage email again, but it's dependent on the form you're filling out. We're just using this
Right.
buyer agency agreement out of the St. Louis area as an example. Ask your broker if you have questions on how to fill out a form properly.
Yes,
All right?
please. MCTTs love questions on the technology, but we do
Yes.
not do compliance questions because we are not brokers. So
No,
you
we
do
are
have
not.
to utilize your office resources to get this done correctly.
Absolutely. Yep. All right. So we're going to go ahead and save this and
Okay.
close it as if we filled out everything. It would be ready to go. And then from there, I need you to sign it. All right.
Oh, yeah. So how do we do that?
Cool. So best practice here. There, you got this little square in the top left-hand corner. You want to select the document or documents that need to be signed. Now, in this example,
Okay.
I'm just using one. If I needed to also bring over any affiliate disclosures, or in Missouri, the Missouri broker disclosure form, anything that
Mhm.
would need to be sent out, I would want to make sure that I checked every single one of those. All right. Well,
Okay.
let's say in this example, okay, I got the buyer agency. I forgot the Missouri broker disclosure form. Let me go into my library and find it. There it is. Good. Okay. So I'm going to take that, add it there. I also want to send this one in off for signatures, or send it to the client to complete the work. All right. So we're going to
Sure.
select the ones we need to send. And then we're going to focus on this little pen at the top. So as soon as you select a document, this little menu bar pops up.
Yep.
We're going to create an envelope, a key word that we need to understand for envelope. All right. So we're going to hit this button.
No.
Yeah. So think about an envelope as essentially the digital envelope that we're sending off. I like to think it about like an interdepartment mail or something, or even if you're just getting the mails,
Yes.
an envelope you're
I
sending
think
out
the
to the
big manila ones with the little
yeah,
string on them or what.
yeah,
Yes.
that's exactly like that, just a digital version. So we created our envelope. All right.
Okay.
So at the very top, we have envelope name. It is what I recommend for this envelope name, especially as you are going to keep one DocuSign room for every single agency or for client that you're serving. Put the purpose of the envelope. So in this example, I would put buyer agency. If it were to be an
Right.
offer on a certain house, I would recommend putting that as the envelope name.
Because the envelope name is not seen by anybody but you. It's for
Nope.
your account and your organization purposes. So
Yep.
you don't have to leave it as please DocuSign and look formal for your client.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. This
Keep
is
it
to help you at
easy.
a later point. Yep. Again, you can view these for just to review and make sure that you're ready for it. But this is show me which envelopes I'm sending off to the client in this example.
Mm-hmm.
And then I could add more room docs here if I chose to do that, but that's just a spot to do that. But what we want to
Or
focus on,
reorder them.
yeah, you can absolutely do that.
You can click and drag them and move them around. Do a little dance. There you go.
Yeah. And actually, I think that was, again, I'm not a broker, but I've always heard the Missouri broker disclosure should be presented before anything else.
There we
So,
go. Let's be compliant, Clark.
yeah, we'll get in trouble. Now we're going to add our actual clients to this envelope to review and sign. We're going to focus on add recipient. Pause. Make sure you hear this. Please pause everything. You want to use pre-tagged roles.
Okay.
Pre-tagged roles are important to use when we bring these forms in. Because again, Jess, you told me like, hey, where are my boxes for signatures? Where are my boxes for initials? If you want to see those boxes, if you don't want to have to create those yourself, please use pre-tagged roles. Save yourself some time. But you want to choose pre-tagged roles and then check the roles of the transaction, the people, the parties of the transaction that will receive this. So for this example, because I don't have an email for Forrest, right? So I'm just going to select you as buyer one. And then on the far right-hand side, we have this long list of folks, parties of the transaction that are in here. But I'm going to choose, where's Jess at? My buyer. Right there we go. All right. So I'm going to choose the buyer, got the recipient. If your market center does have the spot here to choose the broker and it's in the dropdown, you would choose that as well.
The other thing you can do though, will you choose buyer two for me for a second?
Sure.
We can always cancel this. So Forrest doesn't have an email. That's okay. Leave it as select and hit add selected. Because this is the thing that people get thrown off on. You don't have to choose them. Just leave it as select. Hit add selected and it still puts the boxes on for you and you can type in who's it going to. So you could type Forrest Weber and then you could still put my email address in there. You could put his in there, whomever. But those pre-tagged roles, by selecting the role on the left-hand side, it is what triggers all your boxes to show up. So don't be alarmed if for some reason you don't see them in the drop-down. You can still use the pre-tagged role for the boxes. That's why I wanted to wanted to put this out there, because pre-tagged roles are my favorite thing ever. And I cry every time I hear an agent say they're not using them and that they dragged boxes onto their seller's disclosure.
Don't do that. We made it easy.
My heart weeps and aches for anybody dragging boxes when you have the option of using a pre-tagged role.
So, but that's also a really good point, right? Because some of our agents might have clients that only one of the clients has an email. So we also just demonstrated a way that if that is the case, again, maybe 201 conversation, yet just because I put your email in here both times, Forrest could still access your email and sign this if he didn't have an email himself.
Correct.
Right. So that's a nice thing about being able to do that. Right?
But now if you don't want to use him, you can just go to the right-hand side of this box and get rid of him. And that's fine. I'll let you do that for this purpose.
We won't tell him that you're buying a lake house.
Nope. He doesn't watch these. It's okay.
All right. So we do want to draw our attention here because this is what the client receives. So what I want Jess to receive here on the email is what we're going to see. So instead of please DocuSign, you could put whatever you like here. Please DocuSign buyer agency documents. I could put in here a message. Happy to begin working with you, whatever it might be. Let me know if you have questions, but this would be sent in the email to Jess. Okay.
And
So
if
from
it's sent to Jess and Forrest, both of us are going to see the same thing. If it's sent to Jess, Forrest, and the broker, we're all going to see the same thing. Notice that it says at the top, message to all recipients. So any person that you have as a recipient is going to see the same message. And I always tell you that just so that somebody, like, if you've got a divorced couple that is signing and you don't want to badmouth one and then the other see the message or something like that. So just be aware that it is all recipients.
Yeah, pro tip there.
We've seen that mistake happen before, real life experience
I
here.
think we had dozens of agents that just said, "Thank you, Jess. So please send cookies, brownies, baked goods to Jess's house because she deserves it just for that." So you won't have mad clients. Great job. Starbucks, whatever you want, Jess.
Yeah, well, there's my email, so I accept e-gift cards of all kinds. Amazon, Target, Panera.
Awesome. That could be a sticky situation. A good point. Good way to point that out.
It is a huge thing. And like I said, I learned it from life experience when one agent told me what they did, and I was like, "Oh Lordy." So that's why I like to pause there too.
That was worth the training right there. Great.
There we go.
All right. So from here, we've got everything filled out for this envelope. We're going to click on next, and we have one final stage for reviewing. Okay. So this is going to bring up all the work that we've done on the forms that we brought in this envelope. Again, we brought in the Missouri broker disclosure and the agency agreement. So from here, as we scroll down, we'll see, of course, we didn't complete anything on the Missouri broker disclosure form. And yet here's a buyer agency agreement. So everything I input there is set in stone. Yet what we want to catch here, where we did not previously see any fields for initials or signatures, will be applied because we used pre-tagged roles. Remember we chose pre-tagged roles? That is what allows you to save time and not have to click and drag all these little email and signature fields. So please use pre-tagged roles there. What we see here, I got an initial on every single page. Scroll down the bottom here, a spot for you to sign and date. It's all done for me, right? So again, I love this about DocuSign, that it gives me one last moment to review the entire document, see if I need to make any final changes and make sure that the signatures are on the right spot. I'm feeling good. I get to hit the magical send button and we're off.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Let me read.
So while Jess is going to bring that up, one other cool piece here that is very helpful about DocuSign, you can come back into your DocuSign room and you can click on envelopes. Now, remember, we titled this Buyer Agency Docs. You'll get a status on exactly what this buyer agency doc is doing or where it's at in the process, because you'll find yourself in a transaction that it's not just one client signing. It might be a host. It might be a trust that needs to sign this document, or you might need your broker to sign that. So all this will be visible. If you happen to click on this envelope on the details, you'll see exactly what is happening. Another piece I really love about DocuSign, it lets me know as an agent that as soon as Jess opens up this envelope to begin reviewing, I get an email. So I feel very, very comforted that, all right, she's opened the email, she was reviewing it. And yet if 2 or 3 hours pass, I might need to make a call because I haven't got that confirmation that you signed it, which will happen. Right.
Yes, I love this whole process because it lets you know exactly what's going on. And it makes my little organizational heart happy because everything's color coded. So I don't know if you guys noticed while Clark was clicking around, when he first sent it, it said waiting to be completed and it was blue. I e-signed while he was talking and now it is green and completed. So it's just this nice little system where you know exactly what is happening the whole process. Absolutely. And if you need to dive into more details, or if you have an error or something, that's again an MCTT question, an office question, because every case and situation is unique. But this is the way it is supposed to function.
Yep. So yeah, you'll get a confirmation when that envelope is complete. Yep. However, know that big green check mark here, everything has to be done by everyone in that envelope for it to get that green check mark. So you have multiple documents that need to be signed by multiple people. Once each completes their activities, that's when you'll get the green check mark.
Right. So like if I had signed and Forrest hadn't, it would still be waiting. So it's like you can't stop a moving train. You can't stop a piece of mail at the USPS Postal Service until it's arrived at its destination. So just remember, every single party has to complete all the things to then say that your envelope has been delivered.
Yep. And again, you can go in those details and see where maybe the hangup is here with all the recipients. We just had one here, but so helpful. So helpful.
It is.
Yep.
Can we go back to documents for a second?
Absolutely, we can.
Okay. I wanted to see what happened. I was excited. I'm sorry.
You're good. No worries. So we've got some few other colors here as well. So what had occurred, right? We got that green check mark that the envelope has been created, but I also see 5 documents in here where I just had 2. So why are these additional documents here and what are they? First, you'll see this PDF, a certification buyer agency. If you clicked on this, this would show every single timestamp and digital, I guess, identifier that the things that needed to happen legally happened. All right. Yep. Boring stuff that you probably don't need to worry about. And
but it's
yet
good
we
to
also
keep or archive.
Absolutely,
don't delete it.
Is. Absolutely. Do not delete it. And yet I see here that I got a Missouri broker disclosure form. That's a green check mark, but I also got my form in here as well. Same for the buyer exclusive agency agreement. I see that this is signed and I also have a form as well. So why do I have a duplicate? I've got duplicate forms here. Like, wouldn't this blue one that I just sent out, wouldn't that be the one that would be signed? So know this about DocuSign. These blue forms really are intended to be a template for you, right? To possibly use at a later date, right? Because now, granted, for agency agreements, that might not be the case. I could always do an agency amendment or agreement amendment. And yet when it comes to offers, if I had an offer 1 and I had my sales contract in here as a form, I might need to use that form multiple times. I mean, that's just the reality of this market. So I would not have to go back in and add a whole new offer, a sales contract, and completely refill it out at all. It would save anything I previously put on this form to apply for the next situation I need to use it.
Right. So that goes back to the whole conversation of if I lose my lake house, you go back to command, you update my new property I'm putting an offer on, you hit sync, it goes to the details in DocuSign, and then it automatically fills out the new sales contract for you.
That's it.
And the only thing you have to do is change the stuff that didn't push through from command. And then we can submit the offer again, and you've saved yourself all that writing time.
Absolutely.
So this is like seriously my favorite thing. It's one of those things where I know learning the processes and the ins and outs and intricacies can seem overwhelming at the beginning, but it is such an easy process once you just learn what happens in what order. And why things function the way they function. So, you know, I joined Keller Williams while we were still with that other program that everybody likes and never wants to transition from. And trust me, this is so much better, especially when you master the basics and then you attend our like 2.0 class where you get to see all the tricks and tips. You know, my buyer's agent who helps me with my own properties and stuff, he said he shaved 15 minutes off writing time. Imagine how many more offers you can write if you're shaving 15 minutes off of every single offer you're submitting for buyers.
Yep.
I mean, that's
you get time back to actually go find more people to help.
Exactly. I mean, it allows you to just level up your business, provide a higher level of customer service. You know, it's one of my favorite things. So Clark, I appreciate you showing us all of this. I know people are going to have questions about the ins and outs. There's unique situations like trusts, all that kind of stuff. I think we're going to kind of cover in our next session. But can we bring this back home and just show people now that we have this buyer's agency, how do we get it back to command? Let's wrap it up with that, because I think that's a great place to kind of end this.
For sure. Yeah. So my processor in me wants to make sure that I have this the way that I want. So I've had these room docs, but I also created my folders. So what I want to do, I'm going to make sure that I bring my Missouri broker disclosure form under my buyer agency spot. And also my exclusive agency. I want to keep them orderly, and this will actually help out in command, and you'll see that in a moment. So I've put these under the folder that I want. Also, I did promise I would show this. Here's the list view if you want a more condensed view and didn't want to see the actual, so it kind of condenses it so you can see it better.
You know how long it took me to find that button?
I know. Me too. And it was just right there. I know.
It's a good thing it doesn't bite.
Yeah. All right, so we've got the document signed in there. Let me go to this one spot for all things compliance to move forward with what I need in the market center. I'm going to go under contract here. And then, because again, we have this synced with DocuSign, I find the spot that my office, my market center has chosen for me to upload it. If I click on, whoop, bear with me here.
You got to select a folder
I
first.
know.
That throws everybody off.
This has actually gotten a lot easier. Old habits die hard. So yeah, the nice thing about this is the command does read DocuSign. All the folders that I created, the room docs, buyer agency, that's coming from the folders I just created. And so if I click on buyer agencies, then I can go to buyer agency here, choose my exclusive contract. And also, I don't know if this one requires probably doesn't require the Missouri broker disclosure. So the nice thing here is that I've uploaded the signed document, has just signed it in the right spot to easily send off to my compliance peeps in the market center. And just to make sure, I could actually click on this just to verify, like, oh, good. This is the one that I've just enforced on. Scroll all the way to the bottom. There's the signature. It worked.
Mm-hmm. Yay.
It worked so nice.
I love how cleanly this works if you start in command. Like that, starting in command and then pre-tagged roles are going to be like, if you walk away with anything, please walk away with those two phrases. Start in command, use pre-tagged roles, and then practice. You know, the more that you sell your own house to yourself and then buy your dream home, I think the more you're going to feel comfortable with this. And then again, your MCTTs, your office staff, they're always there to help, but please do your due diligence in learning this before you have a deadline. That is my biggest pain point as an MCTT is agents calling me at odd hours and I miss their call because they're just desperate for that kind of thing. So I really appreciate you taking this time with me, Clark. I'm looking forward to hearing from everybody if they have extra questions, if they've actually started the process of learning this and how that's going for them. So please let us know in the chat. We're here to receive feedback as well as trainers and see what else we can do to help, you embrace this technology that KW has to offer. So
absolutely. All right, it was a pleasure, Jess.
Yes, as always. Thanks, Clark. Bye.
Have a good one, y'all.